And, oh, hey, we're going live. Okay, awesome. And now, at least I can see myself, and I think you can hear me. So here we go. And let me just notify someone that this year is starting, and then we will go. Let's see. Probably not gonna work, but let's just try this. Hey, what is going on over here? All right, Irvin, Daf Vav. Here we go. Sorry I'm later than I thought I would be, but like I had committed to Bli Nether, prepare everything in advance, and I basically did. So here we go. Amar Rav Chanan bar Rava, Amar Rav. Mavoi shenifrat. So now we have a mavoi. It's built. It's nice, and something is gonna go wrong. And speaking of going wrong, looks like I already have some things going wrong. What is that doing over here? And if I delete it, what will it do to the rest of the model? Nothing? Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so, yeah. We have a mavoi over here, and there is going... Ooh, this one's like underground now. Wow, okay, strange things are happening here. Hang on. Okay, so, let's work with this mavoi over here. And I deliberately made this mavoi very wide because that way, because it's well over 10 amas wide, it's going to need a wall in front. You see, the mavoi is wide, and therefore it's going to require a wall going across the front over here. And what's going to happen is that there is going to be a hole in the wall. So let's make that hole in the wall. Okay, here we go. And this is going to become a crack in the mavoi, like, oh, not yet, like this. Oh, stop it. Here we go. And, oh, that was odd. I didn't exactly envision that happening. Yo, mavoi, we're trying to make a crack in you. Wow, this mavoi is putting up the good fight. But we got it. Okay, so now the mavoi wall is cracked. And this is a crack in the front of it, as opposed to if the crack was in the side of it over here. And after that, this mavoi put up such a fight that it didn't seem to want to get a crack. But I think this time we will totally crack it pretty easily. So here, we're going to do the same thing and take a crack in this wall. Okay, so now you see the two options you can have, and we're not talking about where both of these things happened at the same time. We're talking about one or the other. So, if there was a crack in it, if it was like busted open on its side, be'eser, then it's only going to be a problem if that exceeds 10 amos. That is a lot. That would mean that the crack would have to extend like... Here, let's do this. Like up to there. We're talking about like... We're saying like the crack would have to be like that big for it to make a difference. Less than that, and you're good. As opposed to in the front of it, Meiroshai bit dalid. However, at the front of the mavoi, if it happens, then it would be already a problem if it is dalid, which is vague. Is that tfachim or ames? It seems like it's tfachim, arba'a. In which case, this one right over here is already way too much because the width that it would be okay being would be up to 4. That would be about as long as that tiny line I just drew over here. So if we would want this mavoi to be kosher, we would say, whoa, if there's going to be a crack in it, don't let the crack exceed 4. My goodness, that's pretty narrow. So the Gemara is going to ask, whoa, why is it that your rules are like that? That on the side we're giving you like all the way up to 10 amos in width, but like in front it can't be more than 4 tfachim. In fact, the Gemara, on the side you're cool with it being 10. The Amar Pischahu, you'll say, okay, it's like a opening, like a doorway, and you can have a doorway in the side of a mavoi up to 10. Okay, Mereshin Ami name a Pischahu. So what about the front? Couldn't that also be considered a opening, a doorway? So, Amar Rav Huna Breid Rav Yeshua. Rav Huna Breid Rav Yeshua says to explain what Rav Chanan bar Rava is saying, Kagon Shnifratz Bekaren Zavis. The Pischa Bekaren Zavis Le Avdi Inshi. So we're not talking about that it happened in the front wall. We're actually talking about where it happened at a diagonal. So for that, let's undo all these holes that I've made in the wall, and let's make this into one wall. And now let's take the crack that we're going to make in it, but let's do it at an angle. And now when the crack appears in the wall, it's going to be rather abnormal. It's not the kind of thing that that you would make an entranceway, and therefore, see, wow, look at that crack. It's weird. And that's why, it's actually super weird. I didn't realize how weird it would end up being. Let's try that again, actually, and make the cut deeper all the way through the wall. Let's see. Bam. Yeah, that's better. So now this is like abnormal, and that's why we don't give you up to 10 amos, we give you up to 10 tfachim, because no one is going to be making a entranceway, a doorway that is going to be like that. So you're down to 4 tfachim for the maximum it can be. Okay, that was Rav Chanan bar Rava in the name of Rav. However, Rav Huna is going to say, seemingly in the name of Rav, Rav Huna Amar echad zeh ve'echad zeh be'arba'a. No. He's saying you don't need this whole whatever weird diagonal thing. The crack cannot exceed 4, and that doesn't matter where on the mavoi it is. In the front of the mavoi, in the side of the mavoi, if the wall gets busted open and it is more, that's funny, it's still at an angle. If the crack is more than 4 tfachim in width, it's a problem. Here, let's just get that number over here. Here, let's just do this at 4 tfachim. Wow, that's barely nothing. Let's just see the width that this crack would be okay being. Yeah, around here. More than that, and it's going to be a problem. So let's just chop that out of the wall. Over here. And so whether it's happening over here or whether it is going to be happening in the front wall, it doesn't really matter where. If it's more than 4 tfachim, hand breadths, it is going to be a problem, and the whole mavoi is ruined if that's not fixed. Okay, fine. Rav Huna says that's what Rav says, and don't argue with me. Amalei Rav Huna Rav Chanan bar Rava. Rav Huna says to Rav Chanan bar Rava, who said at the side you got 10 whole amos. Loi tifle giloi. Don't argue with me. The Rav ikla ledimcharia. Rav came to some place, I don't know what that is. The avad of the kavasi. And he did it like me, meaning there was a hole in the side of the wall. It was less than 10 amos. It was more than 4 tfachim, and Rav said it's a problem. Amar lei, so Rav Chanan bar Rava said, whoa, don't bring me a proof from that story with Rav. Rav bika matzah v'gadarba. Literally, Rav found a valley and he built a fence there. It means he found people who were being very lax in halacha and he had to make a statement. Okay. V'gadarba geder. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, seemingly an outside observer, says, Kvosei de Rav Huna mistavra. He says, it's going to seem like Rav Huna is right. Rav Huna, who said that the pirza in the side cannot exceed 4 tfachim, but definitely it's not going to be kosher if it has a pirza within less than 10 amos. De itzmar. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about, if you look across the street, I was doing Sim City tonight, making lots of mavuos and chatzeros and batim. So let's take a look at this over here. This is a mavoi akum. You'll notice there's a kaira over here. I'm not really sure that there needs to specifically be a kaira over there, but we'll see how this all works out. Mavoi akum. We have a mavoi which is L-shaped. It's you can see it comes. There's no straight line, but that means it's open on two different sides to Rosh Hashanah. So, before we can do this Gemara, we just have to realize that until now we've been talking about mavuos that are sealed, closed at their tip, right, at their end, right? They're open on one side to Rosh Hashanah, and they're sealed on the other three sides. If it's going to be open on all sides, that would be called a mavoi mefulash. And if it's open to a Rosh Hashanah on both sides, and that's going to be a lot more chomer. A mere kaira on top is not going to be enough to help it. So now that we're talking about this mavoi that is akum, the L-shaped one, so if it's considered a mavoi mefulash all the way to the street, like on both sides, then it would be much more chomer. So let's see what we have about this. De itmar, mavoi akum, a mavoi which is bent like this. Rav Amar, Rav says, teirase kimefulash. It's like a mavoi that's going from one side to the other side with the Rosh Hashanah on both sides. Ushmuel Amar, teirase kisasum. Shmuel says, it's considered to be like a mavoi that has a dead end because it's not going straight to Rosh Hashanah either way. Rashi has over here two different approaches in how to explain the machlekes. Either it may be that at the intersection of mavuos, you may need to be doing something. If it's like a mefulash, Rashi says that you're going to need a lechi or a kaira on a mavoi mefulash that's open all the way through. So for a proper tikkun for it, you're going to need a lechi or a kaira on one side, and at the other side, you're going to need a legit tzuras hapesach. What is going on with the floor here? Why? You're going to need a tzuras hapesach. In other words, you would be needing something going up over here, and something going up over here, and something on top of that. And that would be the only way that you could permit carrying in this mavoi because it's open on both sides. That's a nice tzuras hapesach I just made. I think I'll keep it. And we'll use it over here just to show that this mavoi that is akum, open on both sides. So if it would be considered like one that is mefulash, and this is weird, Rashi said, if not that you would need to have a kaira on one opening and a tzuras hapesach at the other opening, but you would actually need the tzuras hapesach to be at that diagonal middle over here, meaning you would have the tzuras hapesach itself rotated diagonally and spanning the mavoi. I'm going to have to change the angle a little bit, and the tzuras hapesach is presumably spanning the mavoi. Boom, boom, boom. And we almost got it. And there we go. Great! Now, if you're going to treat it like it's a mavoi that is a mavoi... Hey, why is tzuras hapesach floating in the air? Let's try that again. Okay, now we're good. We're not good because there's no kaira on the other side, though. So we're going to need to put a kaira on top over here. And then, if the kaira is actually going to be going wall to wall, then we have successfully fixed up this mavoi for carrying, according to the opinion that it is... What is going on here? According to the opinion that it is as if it is mefulash. Okay, so you treat it like a mavoi mefulash. You'll make a kaira, a beam, on both of the sides open to Rosh Hashanah, and the one in the middle, which is also as if it's mefulash to Rosh Hashanah, because they're reading, you'll do a tzuras hapesach there. That is Rav, and according to Shmuel, no, it's like a mavoi sasum. It's like it's closed. So what should you do? You can do just a lechi or a kaira on each side. Great. Rashi's other pshat is that if it's considered a closed mavoi, then you would have to be doing a lechi in the middle, even according to Shmuel. Not the first mahalach in Rashi is that you would need nothing in the middle. The second, according to Shmuel, the second approach is that you would need something, and that something would be some sort of lechi thing sticking out. It's gonna have to be diagonal, and here, very nice. You have a lechi, and according to Shmuel, fine. You would at least need that, but you definitely would not need an entire Tzuras HaPesach going through the middle over there like that. That's what we have. Okay, so the Gemara wants to know, how wide is this mavoi over here? And we'll explain how this gets back to what the Sugya is talking about. The Mayaskinon. What type of mavoi are we talking about where Rav and Shmuel have this machlekes? If this is a super wide mavoi that exceeds 10 amos in width, how on earth could Shmuel be calling this to be a mavoi sasum? And it's good, you just put a lechi or a kaira there. Those things don't help. You can't just throw a lechi or a kaira up at the two entrances. And according to the other mahalach, or how could you say this? How could you just say that there is a lechi over or a kaira or ga? Let's try that one more time. According to Shmuel, in the second approach in Rashi, you're going to need a lechi over here, and if that gap is going to be more than 10 amos, a lechi is not going to be enough. And the other approach in Rashi that says you don't need anything. If you don't need anything, and you're going to say that it's more than 10 amos, well, how can you say that that is not mefulish from side to side? Elolav be'eser. So it's got to be that it's within 10 amos in width. Dun dun dun. Uka amarav teirasai kimefulish. And Rashi says this is like a mavoi that is open to the Rosh Hashanah on both sides. Right? Through the mavoi over here. It's hard for me to kind of like point at the screen because, everything's kind of like mirror image. But from one side to the other, you're not going to be able to say that it is considered closed, even though that corner space over there is within 10 amos. So what do you see? A 10 amma gap in the side of a wall? Rav says that's considered open. Aha! So this is the Rai that Rav Huna is saying. When Rav Huna, this is, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak is bringing a Rai to him. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak is bringing a proof to Rav Huna and saying, if this mavoi over here, according to Rav, is considered closed, it can't be that open part that of this mavoi in the middle is going to be more than 10, because there's no way that Shmuel would say what he says there. It must be that open part is within 10. And Rav says it's considered completely open, which teaches you that the side of a mavoi that's open, even if it's less than 10, like this over here, Rav would say it's a problem if it exceeds 4. This one I made just under 4. But if it's a little more, that's a problem already. Unlike Rav Chanan bar Rav, who said, no, it's kosher as long as it's not going to be 10. Says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Okay? So, Alma, Pirtas Mavi Mitzidai, Be'arba. It's going to be that you have up to 4. Rav Chanan bar Rava is going to defend himself and say, whoa, shiny hasam dekabaki barabim. No. Over here, by the mavoi that was diagonal, the bent mavoi, people are going through it this way, that way, and once you have like such constant walking, so you cannot say that it's just a hole in the side. Even though it's 10 amos. Which the Gemara then says, okay, that would mean that when Rav Huna is saying within Rav, no, 10 is a problem. 10 would be a problem because people are walking through it, so you have to work it out. But in the case of the hole in the side of the wall, people are not walking through it. Why not? Rashi suggests that there's just annoying gunk, or I used that word before by Rubai Muta, but it's just like there's yucky stuff over there on the floor, and people are not going to walk through it. Okay, but then the Gemara is going to ask a different question. Ma'ishna midrabi Ami v'Rav Asi. That was Rabbi. How is this different than Rabbi Ami and Rav Asi, who said that, and this is a Mechad Rav Huna Savar, meaning Rav Chana bar Rava says the reason why the Mav are going all the way through is because people are walking through, and he's talking about where people are not walking through. And that would imply that according to Rav Huna, then you could have a pirza, it's less than 10 amas, that nobody is walking through because of something yucky or whatever, and still, if it's 10 amas, it's a problem. How come Rav Ami and Rav Asi say that a mavoi that has a gap in it, as long as you have a pas, you have something standing to close the gap, it's kosher? To which the Gemara answers, Hasam de'ika gidudi, hacha deleka gidudi. Their case was talking about where it broke, but there was something left of the bottom. You notice in this case over here when it broke, it's a clean break all the way top to bottom. So that's really bad, and that's why, according to Rav Huna, even though there is no good incentive to cut through it because there's like yucky slime or something over here, but still the fact that it's a clean break all the way to the ground means that that is going to be a problem if it exceeds 4 tefachim, and we will not give you up to 10 amos. Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi were talking about where there was something left of the bottom wall. Rashi says 3 or 4 tefachim, I think that's lashon of Rashi. There's something that's left of it, so then we'll give you up to 10. Okay. Weiter. Tanu Rabbanan, and this is we're gonna have a brisa which is going to seem kind of weird at first, and we have to work out what it's actually saying. So, Tanu Rabbanan. Ketzad ma'arvin derech Rishos Harabim. How can you make an Eruv through a Rishos Harabim? Rishos Harabim means, the way Rashi explains it, first of all, it's a city that the road is going from one side of the city to the other. Rashi also throws in that there are 600,000 people walking on the road at the same time, which has spawned some very unusual pictures in the Eirovin Sfarim, which just for fun we're going to reenact right now. And we're going to make 600,000, well, not that, but we'll make a dreadful large amount of people. Here, let's copy this guy 500 times. Did I just break the computer? I froze it. Wow. Oh, here we go. Nope, it didn't freeze. We got lots of him. And just in case you think that that's not enough, we're going to make lots of him next to himself. I'm totally going to crash the computer. But for the sake of making a proper Rishos Harabim, we will do it. Let's see. Okay, well, now we have 1,000 of him, but that's not enough. Let's make it 6,000 of him. What have I done? Okay, so all you need to do is have another 100 times that amount going through every day, and then it's Rishos Harabim according to Rashi. Other shittas don't necessarily imply that you need to have that many going through every day, which is where a lot of our Erev and Shilohs come from. But we're not learning halacha right now, we're just learning Gemara. So, how are you going to make an Eruv in such a place? You said Tzuras HaPesach mikan, v'lechi v'kaira mikan. All you have to do, it sounds like, you make on the two sides of the street. Okay, so you put up a lechi, something standing there to block off one side, and it's Tzuras HaPesach, the doorway shape, and the other side, and everything's good. Well, that's the Tanakama. Chananya is more machmir, and he says, no. There's machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel here, but what you just said is not enough. Beis Shammai Oimrim, I said, Deles mikan v'deles mikan. If you're looking to actually block off a Rishos Harabim and carrying their own Shabbos, there needs to be a door on both sides. And when he comes in and out of each door, you got to close it. Beis Hillel I said delas mikan v'lechi v'kaira mikan. You make a door on one side, and on the other side you can do a lechi or a kaira. I wasn't diagramming this yet because it needs some clarity, but I suppose I really should. So in that case, we're going to try to make an Eruv through Rosh Hashanah. We're not necessarily talking about where there are houses on the side of it. Just there's a Rosh Hashanah, and it sounds like someone is seeking to make an Eruv there. So the first opinion said all you need is a lechi or kaira on one side and a tzuras HaPesach on the other side. Here is our good old tzuras HaPesach. Let's turn it the right way and make it fill the width. And the other side, you would need a lechi or a kaira. Well, what is the plural of lechi? Is it lechayim? Lechayim, I guess. Lechayim. Great. We just made a lechi on this side, and now you can carry around in the street on Shabbos. Sounds great, right? That would be the Tanakama. And Chananya says, according to Beis Shammai, you're going to need something more than that. You're going to need a door. You're going to need to... This is absolutely not going to be enough. You're going to need to have doors on both sides. You're going to have something that opens and shuts. Oh, that was weird. Yeah, so you're going to have a door blocking it off, and whenever you come in, fine, you can open the door, but then you got to close it again. You got to do that on both sides. Beis Hillel also is basically saying that. He's saying, though, that you're going to need a door on one side, and on the other side, you can have a lechi or a kaira. Doesn't have to be a tzuras HaPesach, but it's going to have to be a lechi or a kaira, which just, because I do claim that this is a shir showing everything. So here we go. Here's a lechi on the other side with a door that can open and close on the side. You'll notice Beis Hillel didn't say you have to always close it. The Gemara will get into that later. Okay, sounds good, except what? Asked the Gemara. Rosh Hashanah, Mimi Arva? Can you make an Eruv to carry in a Rosh Hashanah, a place that's like the street, the par excellence, right? On Shabbos, we don't carry there. Ve'otanya, the other brisa, where Rabbi Yehuda is stelin kulas, and yes, okay, no, Rabbi Yehuda. Mishahayu shnei batim. He was talking in the beginning about bridges and stuff. We will see more of that in this Masechta. But right now, he's talking about another thing. What if someone has a house on each side of the Rosh Hashanah? So let's borrow two houses over here. Here we go. Oh, look, two houses. Now we'll have them on each side of the Rosh Hashanah. One over here and one of them over here. And the guy wants to be able to carry in the area in between them. So, what do? Lechi. The guy's house is on both sides of the Rosh Hashanah. Lechi mikan. V'lechi mikan. Kari mikan, v'kari mikan. V'noisei be'emtza. You can make a lechi. Here, we'll borrow that lechi over here. And a lechi does not need to be anywhere nearly as large or thick as the one pictured. So I'm going to make a new lechi just to bring that out. And you put it over here. And you're going to need a lechi on the other side. And oh, look, now you no longer have a Rosh Hashanah because it's fully walled off on two sides. And the two lechis, l'chayin, that you have are blocking off a little bit of the other two open sides. And you can carry around in that area. What fun. Or you could do it with a kaira on top from each one to each one. Which would, here, let's borrow a kaira. Instead of a lechi, you could also just run a kaira across the Rosh Hashanah. Fun. Amrulai, they said to him, Ein me'arvin Rosh Hashanah bekach. You can't do that. So we're asking on this brisa. This brisa made it sound like, yeah, you can make an Eruv in Rosh Hashanah, but it sounds like the Chum here are like, Maybe you'll say, Bekach hud lemi'arva. Yeah, they were saying you can't do it in such a, pathetic way. Look at it. It's like completely wide open. You just put a lechi on each side. Shkayach. Maybe they're saying you can't do that, but you could do it. Habadlasais mi'arva. But maybe with doors, that would be okay. Well, Veha Amar Rabba Bar Chana Amr B'Yechanan. You're expecting exciting Agadata? Sorry. Yerushalayim Il Male Dal Seisehan in Always Belayla Chayavin Aleh Mishum Rosh Hashanah. Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, Yerushalayim was mefulash from one side to the other side. I wasn't actually planning on doing this, but sure, why not? The oldest map ever found in the world was found in the city of Medeba, and in it there was a picture of Yerushalayim. And here, let's take a look at this picture, just because you can see Yerushalayim from this ancient map with, is that Greek or Roman? I'm going to guess Roman, but Latin, but I'm not actually sure. And you can see that Yerushalayim, over there you can see the cardo from the old city, that it's mefulish from side to side. Yerushalayim was open all the way across, and it would have been Eresh Hasarabim, except that it had doors that were closed every night. So what's the kasha over here? Right. Rashi also points out that now that it has doors that close at night, even if they didn't make an Eruv, you're not going to be chayav for being metaltal there on Shabbos, moving things around it. Even though maybe you shouldn't, but that's their abundant. You're no longer going to be chayav for it. Either way, it sounds like you need to have those doors like locked all night. Having doors that are getting opened and closed is not good enough. I'm not sure if that's exactly the question. For Omar Ula, Hani Avuli de Mechuza, the gates of the city of Mechuza in Bavel, El Male Dal Sasein in Alais, if they didn't have doors that get locked, sounds like at night again. So, just having a door that flip-flops does not seem like it's going to be good enough, according to any opinion. So how can we have a brisa which is talking about how to make an eruv in Eresh Hasarabim? Omer Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says to explain that brisa, it's not talking about a legit Eresh Hasarabim. It's actually talking about something much more. That's a bit of a letdown. Ketzad ma'arvin mevuos hamfuloshin l'Eresh Hasarabim. The brisa was actually talking about a mavoi mefulash, which is what we spoke about before. Okay, here we go. This is a mavoi, and it is open on its two sides to Eresh Hasarabim. So what do? Tanakama said, on one side of it you have to have a tzuras HaPesach, the open doorway opening shape, and on the other side you have a lachi or a kaira. You could either have that kaira on top, or you could have a lachi. Here. Lachi. Ding, ding. Or a kaira. So, and on that, we have Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel in the opinion of Chananya, that Beis Shammai says you need doors on both sides that are closed when you're not using them. Beis Hillel is saying a door on one side at least. Okay. Itzmar. Rav Omar, Hilchos like a Tanakama. Rav paskins like the Tanakama. Woo! So when you're doing an Eruv, again, don't paskin anything from Gemara, but Rav is saying we're halach like the Tanakama, even though this mavoi is mefulish end to end, Rosh Hashanah on both sides, but all you need is a tzuras Pesach on one side and a lachi or a kaira on the other side, like the Tanakama. Shmuel Omar, Shmuel says halacha kachananya. No, halacha is like Chananya, who says in Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel that you're going to need at least one door. So the Gemara is like, yeah, but how many? Ibailahu. So it seems relatively obvious. We don't paskin like Beis Shammai. You're definitely not going to need a door on each side, but you are definitely going to need a door. This is the shita of Beis Hillel, who says, Dalas mikan, v'lechi v'kair mikan. So on this side you can have this kair, or you can have a lechi. On the other side, you cannot get away with a mere tzuras HaPesach. You are going to need a door. So here we just made ourselves a door over here on a hinge. It opens and closes. And as I mentioned before, Beis Hillel never actually said that you need to use the door. Oh wow, this door seems to be really bothering this house over here. We're going to have to make it into a folding door. There. Either way, is it okay that the door is just there, or does it have to actually be used? Beis Shammai was very clear that you have to open and close you have to keep the door closed. But Beis Hillel never said that. So when we're paskening, like in Shmuel, paskening like Chananya, okay, but what's he saying? Do you have to keep the door closed or not? According to Chananya in Beis Hillel, tzarech linol or in tzarech linol? Do you have to actually close the door, or do you not have to? And hey, what's going on over here? Hang on. I just want to make sure that this thing is actually working. Hang on. I seem to be getting some sort of weird error message. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I'm not... I don't know if this video is actually working. That's uncomfortable, but either way, I am definitely... There is a backup being taken of this video, so even if this one isn't working, we definitely have something else there. Okay, I'll put this up. So, Toshma, Domer of Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Einay Tzarech Linor. Yehuda B'Shem Shmuel says you don't have to lock. V'chein Amar Rav Matana. Amar Shmuel, Einay Tzarech Linor. Matana B'Shem Shmuel also says you don't have to close the doors. Ika da Amri. Others say it's even more. It's not just that this is what he says theoretically. It happened, and that's what he said. Omer of Matana b'didi avavdo. It happened with me. V'omer li Shmuel, and Shmuel said, Ein sarich linol. You do not need to lock. Bo minei Rav Anan. They asked Rav Anan, Sarich linol, ein sarich linol. Do you have to lock it or not? Omer lo, he said, Ta chazi, come and see. Hani avuli de Naharda. Take a look at the gates of Naharda. You know the city in Bavel. Timan ad palgaihu ba'afra. There's dirt going, like they're half buried in dirt because they haven't been closed in years and years. Shmuel goes through them and doesn't seem to complain about the Erev status. Amar Rav Kana said, almost. Hanach megufais havai. Those doors weren't all the way open. They were sort of closed. So there was dirt that was, burying them. They definitely had not been open and closed in a while, but they were semi-closed, and maybe you need that. Ki also Rav Nachman Amar, when Rav Nachman came to Mechuzah and saw, not in Mechuzah, Narda, Ki also Rav Nachman Amar, Pan Yuala Afraya, when Rav Nachman came, he said, whoa, get that dirt out of there. Lema Kasavar Rav Nachman Tzarech Linol. Oh, so Rav Nachman says you have to close the gates. Loi, not necessarily. Kevin de Re'uyas Linol, Afal Pisha Einin Alais. As long as they're able to be closed, that's going to be enough. Okay. Another story about a Mavoi Akum. How Mavoi Akum da'ava ben Naharda. In Naharda, there was a Mavoi Akum, the L-shaped bent Mavoi. Rami alei chumrid Rav v'chumrid Shmuel. So they double whammed it with chumras. They were machmer like Rav and like Shmuel. V'atzerchuhu delases. And they said that it needed doors. Where did it need doors? Seems like it needed doors. Oh wow. Ooh. Okay, Rashi is explaining this. When I was making these diagrams, I forgot the way Rashi did this. So let's quickly just sketch out what is going on over here. I don't think it's going to be too hard. What I'm going to do is I am going to make a copy. I'm going to make a copy of this. There, and let's flip this around. Wrong way. Try that again. Okay. And now we'll put these together. Bam! And now we have a super mavoi akum that the two sides of it go around to the same Rishus Harabim. Okay, so how mavoi akum da'ava ben Naharda, and they double whammed it with chumras, like Rav and like Shmuel. What was the double chumra? Va'atzrechuhu delasais, and they said it needed doors. Chumra de Rav de Amar terasikim afulish. Rav said that this mavoi is considered to be completely open to Rishus Harabim, even though it's bent, in which case it would need more chamor things, not necessarily what Shmuel says you need. V'homar Rav halacha ketanakama, but Rav said that even if it's legit mafulish, you don't need doors. Kishmuel, Da'amar halacha kachananya. We're going according to Shmuel, who says the halacha is like Chananya, that you're going to need at least a door. But V'amar Shmuel terasa kasasum. But Shmuel says that the mavoi in this case is as if it's sealed off, and you're not going to need to come on to all this. Kirav, the Amar terasa kamafulish. No, but in that there are machma like Rav who says it is considered completely open side to side. Double chumrah. So before we get into the discussion now about doing a double chumrah, just to explain what they ended up saying was necessary. So you need a lechi or kaira on each side. Hang on. Here. We have one lechi over here. Oops. Here's a lechi. And here's another lechi for the other side. And they said that you're going to need doors at the diagonal. So you're going to have a whole doorway apparatus over here. Except that wasn't on a straight face, so it didn't close it off. Hang on. Let's just do that again. Here. 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 And here. And if this doesn't work, I scream. It worked. I don't scream. Okay. We have a door over here, and he was matzrich it, another door at the other bend, like this. So that's a double chumrah, because first of all, you're saying like Rav, it's going to need the extra tikkun, the extra fixing up, the additions of a mavoi mefulash, like a mavoi that actually is split down the middle. It's open on both sides, like Rav saying it's treated like such a mavoi mefulash. And also, we're going like Shmuel that in such a case of a mavim mafulish, you would need doors, even though Shmuel wouldn't consider this a mavim mafulish. And now we're up to talking about, do we do that? And because it's good to get ahead in Daf Yomi, and I'm always doing these shiurim at the end of the day, so I'm going to get on to Zayin Amad Aleph a bit. Bli nether. Omi avdina katrei chumri? Do we do double chumras like that? V'hatanya. We have a brisa which says, La'olam halacha kebeis Hillel. Halacha is like Beis Hillel. The Reitz Elas is Krivi Beis Shammai, Aisa. Krivi Beis Hillel, Aisa. But if you could do like Beis Hillel or do like Beis Shammai, the Gemara will explain. However, if someone does Mikule Beis Shammai and Mikule Beis Hillel, if someone is, picks their kulas from whichever Rav works for them, different kulas, different Rabbanim, Rasha. Mechumre Beis Shammai and Mechumre Beis Hillel, someone who looks around seeking chumras from different shitas. Alava Kasav Aimer, there's a pasuk in Kaiheles that we're applying to him. Haksil, I think it's Vihaksil in the pasuk, yeah. B'choshech Halech, the fool goes in darkness. Ella, pick someone and go with them. Ella Ike Beis Shammai, Kikulehain Uchechumrehain, like Beis Shammai with their kulas and their chumras. Ike Beis Hillel, Kikulehain Uchechumrehain, or like Beis Hillel with their kulas and chumras. So before we even talk about anything, the Gemara is like, what? Hagufa kasha. That contradicted itself. Amrit, first you said, La'ila malacha ke Beis Hillel. We always paskin like Beis Hillel. V'hodar Amrit, and then you said, but it's up to you. Haretz Allah says, Kriva Beis Shammai. I said, if you're telling me halacha is like Beis Hillel, why are you telling me that? Yeah, but you could go like Beis Shammai. Like kasha, not shver. Kan kaidem baskol, kan la'achar baskol. A heavenly voice spoke out, halacha is ke Beis Hillel. And before the baskol is the second part of the brisa, we're saying it's up to you. But then after the baskol, okay, fine, halacha ke Beis Hillel. V'yibai say more, or you could say hava halachar baskol, even after the divine voice, and it's a machlekes Rabbi Yeshuahi. Blei mashkach bebaskol. So when it says halacha is ke Beis Hillel, that would be if you go with the baskol. But you could do like Beis Shammai also, if you're with Rabbi Yeshua, you don't have to listen to a baskol. V'yibai say more, hachika amar. Or maybe it's saying like this. We're going we're not talking specifically about Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, because they're already halacha ke Beis Hillel. But if you ever find a similar thing, which happens all over Shas, or you have different schools of thought, different opinions, you shouldn't be cherry picking your kulas or your chumras. You either go with the kulas and chumras of that shita or that shita. But still, at the end of the day, we worked out the brisa. That's great, but what's going on with this mavui in Narda that they did this weird Rav and Shmuel thing? Omer of Nachman bar Yitzchak, kulik Rav of Dua. So to Nachman Yitzchak, no. The whole thing was actually like Rav. The Omer of Huna, Omer Rav, halacha ve'in mayrin kain. Just because Rav said that you can go with the Tanakama of the brisa about what you need to do for a mavim foolish, but that's not public. If people ask, meaning, if someone asks what to do, tell them to do doors. It could get too iffy otherwise. So it's not a double whammy of a chumrah of two shitas. Okay, but that's not how everyone explains things. According to Rav Adabar Ava Omarav, that is what you would paskin, so you can't say that. Ma'ikla Memar. Omar Rav Shizvi. So Rav Shizvi says, and this is there's a lot you could take out of this Gemara. It's okay to go with a double chumrah. When are we saying don't be a fool in darkness taking chumras from two different people? Heicha desasriya hadadi, where they are inherently contradictory. Kegain, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to do a visual for this one, but it would be cool to do a Hamlet thing. Shedra vigulgailes, like vertebrae and a skull. That's none. So we actually touched on this earlier. We said that in the Gemara about the Shivas Haminim, Daled Amud Aleph, it said that a bone the size of a barley corn is going to be tamei with maga and masa, but not ba'ayel, unless it's something like most of a skeleton or a skull or a spinal vertebrae apparatus assembly. So, Ditznan. Hashedra v'agulgailas, a entire set of vertebrae or a skull, which are both mitame ba'ayel, if you're under the same covering as them, there is tama, shechasru. If they are missing something, then they're not going to have that tama ba'ayel. The kama chisaron b'shadra, how much does that to be missing to no longer be complete? Beis Shammai omrim shtei choyos. Beis Shammai says two vertebrae. Beis Hillel omrim choya aches. Beis Hillel says one vertebrae. There's got to be a difference between singular and plural, but maybe it's just the way you spell it. Uvegulgailas, and a skull. Beis Shammai omrim kimaloi makdeach. If it's removed from it, Rashi says, you want to know what this means? Look at that Gemara. Makdeach, I think, is something which drills out a piece. And Beis Hillel says enough to take Beis Hillel emrim kadeshi not min achayv yamas, enough to take out of a living creature that would make it die. So now, v'chein Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, v'chein, let's say v'chein. It's for Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, v'chein the inyan treifa. If Yehuda says the same Shmuel, it's the same thing for a treifa. Meaning, if an animal is shechted, so if someone's saying hi to me on Facebook Messenger, maybe because this is not live right now, so I will tell him, hang on, give me 5 minutes. Okay. He's asking for a link to this shear. I shall, bli nether. Okay, so, treifa. If an animal, you shecht an animal, but it was doomed to die within a year, it was something very wrong with it, it's not kosher to eat. There's also ramifications for toma, I believe. Shchitas treifa. I'm not going into that, but this is very simple. Can you eat it or not? So, let's talk about the spinal cord and the vertebrae. If one of the vertebrae is missing, So Rav Yehuda, is Rav Yehuda Mashmuel? He's saying that the machlekes by tuma of a person ba'ayel is the exact same thing by an animal in terms of is it kosher to eat it or not? Is it considered to be missing too much? So, if according to Beis Hillel, even missing one vertebrae is significant and major, and therefore if an animal didn't have it, it's a treifa. But if you were in an oyhel, you were under the same covering as a entire set of vertebrae except for that one, it's not a complete set. The same way that it was enough that its absence made the animal a treifa, it would also make this bones that you're with under the same tent not be matame ba'ayel. As opposed to according to Beis Shammai, it would be no. Unless it's missing two, the animal would not be a treifa, which is a kula, and it would be matame ba'ayel if it's only missing one, which would be a chumrah. And that's where you can't do a double chumrah. That would be foolish because the two things are seiser each other. They're like diametrically opposed intrinsically. So if a person would say, I am right now sitting under the same roof as a skeleton, yeah, it happens sometimes, and I consider myself tameh because that skeleton is missing one vertebrae, but I'm gonna be machmir right now like Beis Shammai and saying that one, just because one is missing, that's not enough, and therefore it's still tameh. And I'm also not going to eat this meat because it comes from an animal that was missing one of the vertebrae, and I'm going to go like Beis Hillel and say that its absence is significant and it's a treifa. I am very machmer, and I am a fool staggering in darkness. Yeah, that's what you don't do. But if they're not actually seiser each other, of dinan, that's okay. To which the Gemara says, really? If they're seiser each other, we don't do it? Meiser from Misharshia, Meiser Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, there's a story of him, Sheliket Esrog Be'echa B'Shvat. It was Rosh Chodesh Shvat, and he picked an Esrog, and when it comes to Meisris, an Esrog goes Basar Lekita Kiyarek, so now he picked this Esrog, and the act of picking it, ding, that decides whether it's Chayev and Meisris various years. So, it was the end of the second year of Meisris, going into the third year of Meisris, and he would have to take out Meiser Rishon, and, well, if it was the second year, it would be Meiser Sheni, which would be for a Meiser Sheni would be what you bring to Yerushalayim and eat it and you're paid it. Or, if it's a third year, it would be Meiser Ani, given to the poor. What did he do? V'noag by Beis Isurin. And he took Meiser from it. Well, first he took off, presumably, Truma, and Meiser Rishon, and then he also took off Meiser Sheni to eat in Yerushalayim or be paid, and Meiser Ani. Because on the first day of Shvat, is it the new year yet for trees? According to Beis Shammai, it is. According to Beis Hillel, it isn't yet. And that's a stira minayubei. So how could you do that? To which the Gemara said, no, that's not the setup. That's not why Rabbi Akiva did it. Rabbi Akiva gemare istapikle. He wasn't sure about something. He wasn't sure what Beis Hillel themselves said. He wasn't sure if Beis Hillel says the new year started already on the first day of Shvat, so therefore he has to take Meisers for the third year of Meiser Ani. Or maybe it's still the old year, the second year, and he would be taking Meiser Sheni because Rosh Hashanah Le'ilonis is not until Tu B'Shvat. V'avad hachal l'chumra, and it was a legitimate double chumra because he wasn't sure what Beis Hillel said. We'll stop here for now. And Mitzvah Hashem, be continuing. Looks like the nightly time for this is 9:15 p.m. Shkoyach.